Hello and welcome to On the Air with FDT-TV. My name is Mike. What a week of sport it's been. Arsenal with back-to-back wins, West Ham losing marginally to Chelsea, and Tyson Fury retains his WBC World Heavyweight title. There's a lot to get through. Let's get into it. Welcome back, guys. As you can obviously see, it's a bit of a stripped back regime tonight. Unfortunately can't make it, but the show must go on. Usually there are the two of us here talking absolute rubbish, mainly the Premier League, but we do cover some of the bigger sporting events as well. But we will be back to full strength next week. Firstly, the top four race is hotting up with only a few games left to go. Man United struggles continue. Go on, the Arsenal. Spurs dropping points against Brentford. Come on, that now gives us that 2-point gap. It could come down to the North London derby, which is in a couple of weeks. Just very quickly, just to recap on the results predicted from last week. Chelsea versus Arsenal. I've got to be honest, it was a game that I was going into. I wasn't too comfortable going into this. We off the back of 3 defeats against Crystal Palace, Brighton and Southampton. And let's be honest, they were absolutely shocking. Many of us went into that game expecting to be absolutely pounded. But it was quite the opposite. Eddie with a brace comes back in. He came into the team as a start because of Lacazette being absent through COVID. Emile Smith-Rowe pops up with a goal, and Bukayo Saka. I will be honest, I think that foul was, or the penalty, should I say, was a little bit dubious. But I'll take it. It's not very often we get the rub of the green with VAR decision. So more than happy with that result. I've got to say that game was a game of sloppy defending. I think the scoreline completely flattered us. I think Chelsea, for the most part, had the majority of possession, but we were more clinical. But in true Arsenal style, we go up, and a few minutes later, we have a defensive lapse. That was 2 of the goals. So we scored, they scored, we scored, they scored, we scored again, and then we got the penalty. So I'm very pleased with that result. Going on to the weekend on Saturday, again, it was a game I've got to be honest, I wasn't too confident about off the back of the results. Obviously, the predictions were made last week, but we'll cover those when Ian's back. But it was a game full of drama. A quick start. Getting a goal within 2 minutes. Good old Nuno Tavares has had a bit of a shaky few games. Good to see him getting the full 90 minutes. Certainly in the game against Chelsea, but good to see him being rewarded with the start in this particular game. And I've got to say, it was a pretty good goal. I've got to be honest, I thought it was offside. I was getting a tattoo at a point, but I didn't manage to have the game on. And it was given. We then saw Eddie Nketiah put the ball into the back of the net, but was ruled out for offside. But then we did see that very quickly overturned with a penalty decision. I can't remember who it was that went through the back of Saka, but I'll take it again. I think it was a bit of a soft penalty, but penalty nonetheless. We've seen them given this season, but likewise we've seen them overturned. So once again, getting the rub of the green, and Saka steps up for his second penalty within the space of a week. And it makes it 2-0. A game which then looked pretty comfortable. But that man comes onto the pitch again, scoring goals as he does, and gets United back into the game. We all know who we're talking about, Cristiano Ronaldo. Lovely cross into the box, manages to get in front of Tavares, I think it was, and gently taps in the ball into the back of the net. I've got to say it was a good goal. At that particular point, you did think Manchester United were going to come back into it. We see a goal ruled out for offside again for the marginist of lines. And there was also a penalty decision which went their way from a handball. God knows what Tavares was doing with his arm hanging out. It must have been like pointing out to his mum or something that he was jumping up for a header, but obviously the ball hits his head, hits his arm, and the penalty's given. But luckily, Bruno Fernandes, who's usually been quite confident with his penalties, decided that today wasn't going to be his day. Hits the post and it goes out. Aaron Ramsdale didn't really have much to do in the game, but you could even see that he was relieved that the ball didn't go into the back of the net. And I've got to say, goal of the weekend for me, Granit Xhaka. What an absolute belter of a strike. Very quick appeals for handball with the ball in the box. Gets passed out to El Neni, I think it was. El Neni squares it to Xhaka. Xhaka sees an opening. Absolutely thunders it into the back of the net. There are concern, or there have been talks of it being offside. Obviously, Rio Ferdinand coming out very quickly to say it should have been offside because of Eddie Nketiah standing in De Gea's way. But I think it was Dalot as well, standing not too far in front of Eddie Nketiah. So you could also say that he was blocking the view of De Gea as well. But I'll take the 3 points. It's nice to see us getting another 3 points. I'm really happy with these two results. Just very quickly as well, we did see the return of Tomiyasu back into in the second half. Good to see him back on the pitch, and hopefully we can get some more minutes under his belt. I understand he's come back from a bit of a long-standing injury, and we don't want to get him obviously injured again. We had, as I mentioned as well, West Ham losing to Chelsea 1-0. Chelsea winning by the narrowest of margins. You did see Craig Dawson sent off in the second half for denying a goal-scoring opportunity. Penalty was then given to Jorginho. Again, another guy that you put your house on scoring the penalty. But it was possibly one of the worst penalties I've seen. Hits it, not with any power as well. I think he was going for a little bit of a placement. Fabianski had it covered all day long. It was pretty much straight at him, so it was a good save. But Pulisic did come to Chelsea's rescue with a late winner. Just looking at the other games within the top four race as well, Spurs travelled to Brentford. Brentford have been on a bit of a march in recent weeks, picking up some important results, and managed to hold Spurs to a 0-0 draw, which again, a perfect week for Arsenal fans. We see us climb back into fourth, 2 points clear of Tottenham now, and which is why it could potentially come down to the North London derby. Both have got winnable games towards the end of the season, but likewise some have got difficult games. I think Spurs have got Leicester and Liverpool coming up, but we've got West Ham, Newcastle, Spurs. All could be banana skin games towards the end of the season, so we'll just have to see what happens. But obviously, the reason that FDT-TV exists, Arsenal versus West Ham, grudge match between the presenters. And I'm a little bit gutted that Ian's not here to discuss this one. But Arsenal travel to the London Stadium, could be a difficult game. But at the same time, with West Ham being in the Europa League, in the semi-finals playing against Eintracht Frankfurt, there could be tired legs. It's going to be a difficult one. I think it's a difficult one to call. Obviously, we're off the back of 2 wins. With West Ham being in Europe as well, we could become a little bit too complacent. But saying that, our away record has been much better than it has been in recent seasons. So the tired legs may come into it. And let's be honest, I think with the prospect of winning silverware, I think West Ham would be silly to try and risk a full strength squad within the Premier League which could sacrifice their Europa League chances. So we'll see what happens. There may be a bit of a change around between the lineup for West Ham. I wouldn't have thought so. I think for West Ham fans, they would like to see the strongest squad as possible, but at the same time, I think they need to be realistic and know that the Europa League is their best chance of, or is their only chance of silverware this year. Does Arsenal stick with the same lineup? I think it's worked well for the last 2 games. I personally wouldn't change it. I know there was a possibility of an injury to Saka coming off in the second half against Manchester United, so we'll just have to watch that out as the week progresses. But if he does miss out for this particular game. I think I'd rather have him back in for the Spurs game, so rest him possibly, and have Nicolas Pepe in his place. Martinelli's another one, has had a bit of a rest. I know he did come on in the second half, but he's another one that could potentially stick out on the left-hand side. But I've got to give a special mention to this particular player for certainly his contribution in the last 2 games. Mohamed El Neni, where the hell did he come from? Well, obviously I know where he's come from, but a player I completely forgot about. I thought it was absolutely outstanding against Chelsea and absolutely outstanding against Manchester United. Really impressed. Obviously, we know how well he did with the Egypt squad in the Africa Cup of Nations. It was a breath of fresh air, which I think is a little bit strange for me to say it, because he's always been someone that does put in a performance, but you can often see him being a bit negative, passing sideways, passing backwards. But I think he stepped up to the mark in the last couple of games. We're starting to see a bit of an attack in Mohamed El Neni. Not afraid to run with the ball a little bit. Some forward passes for a change. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So for me, he definitely keeps his place. I think he's the better option for Sambi Lokonga, who's, I wouldn't say has done anything bad. But I think El Neni certainly fits the partnership as it stands at the moment. So more of the same, please, Mo. That's really it for this week. Sorry, it's a quick, short, sharp shock to the system. As I said, Ian's not around for this week, but we will be back up to full strength next week on Monday. So thank you very much for watching. If you have done till the end so far, I've been Mike. This has been On The Air with FDT-TV. God, we've been doing this for 2 years. You think I'd get the bloody name right. I've been Mike. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe. Share it everywhere. Check out one of our other videos. It'll be somewhere around here. Cool.